Hello everyone, this is GNU Linux Users Group, and today we bring you a video on how to install and run Windows Subsystem for Linux version 2. Now if you like the video, go ahead and like it and subscribe for more future content on these tech videos, how to set up things and development stuff. And without further ado, let's dive right in. So to set up WSL2, what I want you to do first is to go to Google and type in WSL2, right? And you on the second link you should find this link of installing Windows Subsystem for Linux on Windows 10. Clicking on it, you will get to Microsoft's documentation page for installing WSL2, and this is the guide we'll be following to install WSL2 on our Windows machine. So first thing that I want you to do is ignore this simplified installation for Windows Insiders, because as you can see, it is only for those who are opted into the Windows Insiders program. Now, I expect most of you are not, so we won't be following this one. What we will be following though is this one, the manual installation steps. These are the steps that we need to go through in order to install WSL2 and get it set up. So before that, let's check the requirements of whether or not you can actually run WSL2 on your Windows machine. So to do that, what you need to do is go here, and as you can see, so for x64 based systems, you need version 1903 or higher. So you're basically going to be running either an Intel or AMD CPU, 64-bit. So for that, you need your Windows version to be above 1903, and it can be checked very easily. So what I want to do is basically go to settings, right click on system, go to the about section, and below here you'll see your Windows specifications, right? And here you can see the edition, version, installation date, and the OS build. So what I want you to do is basically compare these two numbers, right? So the version number, you need to compare it with this one. So here the minimum required is 1903. As you can see, I have the 20H2, the latest version, and the build number, compare these two. So here it's 18362 or higher, and I have 19042.685. So okay, so my machine completely satisfies the requirements in order to run WSL2. So you need to make sure that this is here. Okay, so if your version number is less than 1903, right? So if you're running something like 1804, then what you need to do is go to Windows Update, right? So go back here, and at the bottom you'll find update and security. So you need to go here and you need to basically check for updates. You'll see a button here. Clicking on that, you'll get a list of all the updates that you can make, and what I would recommend is basically just update to the latest version of Windows, which will rid you of any problems that might occur. So once you're done with this, then you can close it all up. Once these requirements are satisfied, then we need to go and enable Windows Subsystem for Linux, right? So to do that, the first thing you need to do is basically this PowerShell command. Now, here's the thing: we will be using the PowerShell for most of the things that we do right now, right? We're not going to be using a GUI. Like you could use in GUI, like you can go into the control panel and set these things manually, but uh, I won't recommend it because there are a lot of settings, and you might end up, changing the wrong one by mistake, and that's not going to be good. It could very well, you don't want to break your system because the settings where this is at, a lot of other crucial settings are also present there, so you don't want to go there. PowerShell is your safest bet for uh, performing this procedure. So to do that, what I want you to do is basically type in PowerShell in your Windows search bar, and you'll see this one right now. Important step: you need to run it as an administrator. These commands require elevated privileges, and if you don't run it as administrator, when you copy these commands and you press enter, you could get errors, like you will get errors. So you have to run them as administrator. So run as administrator, you'll get your this, and okay. So the PowerShell has opened. Now what I want you to do is super simple. Just copy this line. Okay, first of all, step one, you need to copy this. What this will do is basically enable the feature for WSL. Okay, so to copy this, you can just click on this copy here, and then to paste it in your PowerShell, you just need to right click and it's there. So you press enter, and okay, so you'll see the operation was completed successfully. And when this is done, what you need to do is basically close the PowerShell, because now you need to restart your machine. Okay, so once you've done restarting the machine, you need to come back here, and now you need to, okay, so we've already, step 2, we have checked the requirements for WSL2, so there's that. Next, we need to enable the virtual machine feature, right? Again, it's another PowerShell command, really easy. Just copy it and paste it again. Okay, press enter, and again, the operation was completed successfully. So now you have enabled the virtual machine platform for Windows. Now once this is done, you need to restart your PC once again. Okay, as you can see here, restart your machine to complete WSL install and update to WSL2. Okay, so once you've done restarting your machine, come back here, and now we move on to step 4, which is downloading the Linux kernel update package. Now doing this is really simple. All you need to do is basically just click on this link here, WSL2 Linux kernel update package for x64 machines. When you click here, a download prompt will come up. Now, I already have this downloaded, so I'm not going to download it once again. Let me just cut it out. And I will go to the download section, go to the programs, and here, as you can see, I have the WSL underscore update underscore x64.msi. You need to run this. As you can see, it like takes around, now I already have installed this before, so it didn't really go through it again, but for you it will probably take like 10-15 seconds depending on your machine. And once this is done, just click finish, and this part is done. Okay, so the next step is basically setting version 2 as your default version, right? Because by default, Windows will always use version 1 whenever you install a distro and start using it, right? So we need to tell Windows that, okay, whenever I install a new distro, make sure that it is running on WSL2, not 1. And again, doing that is very simple. You just need to copy one line of PowerShell code. So I'll just copy it here, and again, I'll paste it here and press enter. It doesn't exactly say success or anything. It will just tell you, for information or key differences with WSL2, please visit this site, which means that, okay, this configuration has been set. Now WSL will use version 2 whenever you install a new distro. Okay, so we're done with this. Now, WSL2 is set up on your computer, right? Your machine now supports it. However, to actually, start using Linux, you need to download a distribution. Now, to download a distribution, what you need to do is basically just go to the Microsoft Store, right? And once you've reached here, you can click on search and you can type in Linux. And you'll see a list of the distributions that are available for WSL2. Now, as you can see, we have quite a few of them. Like we've got Ubuntu, we've got Debian, we've got Kali, and if you want more, you can even check out the ones that are present here, right? So these are all the ones that are present. So we've got the 3 versions of Ubuntu, we've got opensource, we've got Kali, Debian, Fedora, Penguin, Alpine WSL. We've got a few, like not all of them, like Arch is not here, for example, but as WSL gains more popularity, we're sure to include more and more distributions into the platform. So what I want to do is basically pick a distro of your choice. Now, I'd recommend going with Ubuntu 20.04. It is the most beginner friendly, and it's really simple to just get started with, and you don't really have to mess around with the configurations a lot. You could also go with Kali if you're into hacking and stuff, but for this tutorial we'll be going with Ubuntu. So let me click on this, and now I already have Ubuntu installed, so for you will get a button saying get, and after when you get it, it will tell you to install it. Now upon installing, which is like 300 to 400 megabytes, you'll get the launch button here. Now what I want you to do is launch it. Right, now once you launch it, boom, you've got Ubuntu on your Windows machine. Now yes, this is just the command line. WSL2 still does not support GUI applications, right? So you won't get a desktop environment, and you won't be able to run Linux specific GUI applications. However, the command line is still a lot of power, of Linux because you still have the entire Linux toolset in your grasp. Now, what I will say is, now what I'm going to do is just run you through a couple of things you need to know. Now, before that, as you could see, for me, the moment I clicked on launch, this window opened up, right? Now it already, the terminal is already open for me to type in commands. So let me just clear the console. As you can see, I cleared it all up. Like if I do neo fetch, yeah, you see it's fetching the data about my machine. Now I can do this, but the first time you open up this terminal, it will actually take a couple of minutes to set it all up, right? So it will download a few modules and it will set the entire distro up. And after that, it's going to ask you to input your username and password for this machine, right? For this Linux machine that you have using in your WSL. So it will tell you to input those. Now, once you've done inputting them, and it will take it in, and then you will also have the terminal opened up, and now you can go in and start running commands and doing everything Linux. Now, we will have videos on, the popular Linux commands, how you can get started with the command line and everything later on in a series. And what we want you to do is just click on the subscribe button so that you stay up to date with all those videos. It'll be great. Now, just to show you, now this is all good, but just to show you that the power that you have with Linux, let me do a couple of things. So remember, as I said, you don't have a GUI with WSL, right? So if I don't have a GUI, how do I use code editors? Because code editors are graphical user interfaces, right? Now, if I can't use a code editor, obviously, why should I use WSL? I'd rather just stick to using my native Windows machine or use a VirtualBox or, just dual boot into Linux. And although dual booting is, I still believe, the best way to experience Linux because it's like the native environment. But Windows and Microsoft, in turn, has done a great job of integrating VS Code with WSL. And let me just give you a demo of how you can use VS Code with WSL. So to do this, what I want you to do is, first of all, type in VS Code, right? And you'll get the download Visual Studio Code link, and just go in there and you'll find an installer, right? So you go ahead and install it for Windows. And once you're done installing it, now I already have it installed, so I'm just going to launch it for you. So here, as you can see, you just launch it. Don't mind the insider's version, like nothing is going to be different, so don't mind it. So we've got VS Code, right? Now this is running on Windows. This is not running on Ubuntu. So what use is this? Because I cannot use a toolset that Linux comes with. Like I cannot use whatever Linux has in this environment, in this VS Code environment. Well, let me tell you that you can do it. You can connect remotely to this terminal or this kernel and start using the Linux commands and everything that comes with Linux, the Linux toolset. And to do that, what you need to do is basically just go to the extensions and type in WSL, right? The first data that will pop up will be remote WSL. Now you need to go in there and you need to install this extension. I already have it installed. So once you're done with that, restart VS Code, and at the bottom left corner, you can see here these are two arrows pointing at each other, and when I hover my mouse over it, you can see on the tooltip it says open a remote window. So click on that. Now you'll see these four options coming up. New window using distro, open folder in WSL, getting started. So what I want to do is open folder in WSL. Now let me go and navigate to my code folder that I have for you. So this is the folder that I want to open, the test folder, right? Let's select this. Okay. Now look at this. This instance of VS Code is not using the Windows toolset in order to run. Okay, it's not using Windows. It is actually connected to this kernel, this machine that you have created right here, this WSL machine, this Ubuntu, and it's using its software. And just to prove it to you, as you can see here at the bottom left where those two arrows were, now you can see there's WSL Ubuntu 20.04, which means that it has connected to this runtime. Now what I want to do is basically demonstrate this with by compiling and running a simple C++ program. But to do that, first you need to install a couple of things. So open up your WSL terminal and type in sudo apt install gcc gdb and build-essential. Okay, let's press enter. It will ask you for the password. Okay, now I already have these things installed, right? So I'm not going to install it again. So let me just clear it all up. Okay, just minimize this. So once you do that, right, you will have the tools that you need in order to compile C++ programs and debug them on your machine. Now let's get into doing it. Now, VS Code, if you've used it before, you know that it automatically has this integrated terminal for you to use so that you don't need to switch between the coding window and the terminal again and again, right? So it gives you one at the bottom of the screen itself. Now, as you can see, this terminal is not the command prompt, the default Windows command prompt or PowerShell. This is the bash terminal that comes with installing Ubuntu. As you can see here, it says here bash, right? So we have the bash terminal here, and whatever you type in is actually getting executed in this machine. So as you can see, what I've written here is a simple C++ program, right? Just printing hello world, super standard program. So what I want to do is basically compile and run it. So let me switch over to the terminal and let's compile it. So the command will be g++. The name of the program is hello.cpp -o for the output, and let's just name the output file as hello. Okay, so I've done it. Now let's do an ls. As you can see, the three files are listed. We've got hello.cpp, and a Python file, which I've also shown here, which I'm going to demonstrate to you actually. So we've got these three. Now let's run the file that we just compiled. So we'll do /hello, and boom, you've got hello world printed on your terminal. Okay, so this was C++. Now let's try it with a Python file. So let me close this up. Let's go to Python. And okay, so again, I've just written a simple print hello world, a very simple program, right? And so for Python, Ubuntu comes with Python by default. You don't need to install it. And just to show it to you, I can just type in Python 3, and you can see the Python prompting it up. Okay, so you can do Python by default, so you don't need to install anything for it. Just exit out of here, the terminal. Let's minimize this. Okay, so again, this is connected to the Python environment that is present in this terminal, right? So, and in order to prove that, let me just click on this here, which is you use it to select your environment. And as you can see here, we've got the two ones, which are user/bin Python 3. Now again, you notice it that user/bin is not the name of any directory in Windows. Like Windows does not have this convention of naming directories. This is Linux, this is Ubuntu, right? So we know that the program currently is using this interpreter, which is present in our Ubuntu environment. So okay, I've written this very simple program. Let me just run it. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just type in Python 3 main.py and boom, hello world. So there's that. So we have done C++ and we've done Python, right? And it's not only limited to these. You can do JavaScript, you can do Node, anything that you can run, that you can install on Linux, on Ubuntu. You can basically just connect VS Code to that environment and start using it as if you are inside Linux itself, right? You won't even notice the difference between being inside Linux or on a Windows machine. Like, it's so seamless and it's great, right? And this also comes in handy if you want to use stuff like Docker, which I won't say is very mature on Windows, and it's great for those kind of stuff. So okay, so we've done with this. Now this is all good, and now you have a setup to use, a very minimalistic setup, I should say, to use Linux on a Windows machine without having to worry about managing VirtualBox or VMware or any other software to emulate this kind of stuff, right? It is running inside Windows and it's great. So with this, again, if you like the video, a like is always appreciated, and subscribe again because we will be bringing out more stuff regarding open source Linux and these kinds of videos again and again. And to stay updated with all the content that we'll be pushing out, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. This has been GNU Linux Users Group, bidding you farewell. See you in the next one.